Welcome back. I'm Alfred Lambremont Webre, and today we have coming to us from Brussels, the Public Relations Director of the European Coalition Against Covert Harassment, Melanie Vritschan. Welcome, Melanie.
Thank you, Alfred.
You know, this is such a story that we've been following, and when you updated me, we both agreed that we had to go on the air. And tell me, I just tried to encapsulate this in something of a headline, which I don't think I have correctly. So we'll have to tweak it together. What I got from you is that physicians and the medical system in Belgium are actually now making sure that the Motorola remote lethal weapons implants in you are going to kill you. They won't remove them, and they're making sure that they're going to kill you. Am I missing something here?
No, it appears that way indeed, because what happened, just to remind our viewers, is that I have a strangulation technology in my throat that was, as we know from the toxicologists and experts and nanopathologists, Dr. Hildegard Stenninger, as we know from her, that it has been developed by DARPA, and then Motorola also, put it on the market as contractees. This technology will record everything the victim says, so vocalized speech, but also unvocalized, which means whatever he or she thinks. But the most striking feature of it, or most scary feature, if I may say so, is that it will progressively strangulate the victim if it is not removed. So this is what we had explained to our viewers last time. Indeed, with this affidavit of Dr. Stenninger, the declarations and further information she gave me, I went to go back to see my ENT doctor, and I said, well, you know, I think this is the reason of me feeling a constant strangulation and a progressive strangulation in my throat. Whereas when he said that, okay, in this case, he would order a CT scan. When the results came back, we had, and we can put that online later, we got first the report of the hospital who had done the CT scan, where they basically declared that everything's fine, there's everything's symmetrical, there's no problem, nothing out of the ordinary, it is all fine. And when my ENT doctor opened the CD and looked himself at the images, he clearly saw that it was far from being fine, that my hyoid bone had been displaced, which is normally an indication of strangulation. So it is at least something very out of the ordinary, and this is a very solid bone. And usually it's very rare that you see this, and the only the only reason he could spontaneously think of is that me being victim of some domestic abuse, strangulation, which is not the case. I then suggested to him that we would ask another opinion of another ENT doctor, because first I said, well, maybe we should show this to a forensic doctor. He didn't think that was a good idea. He said, well, they only take care of dead people. So, but I agreed that we should ask for another opinion of a university professor specialized in ear, nose, and throat diseases. So we clearly agreed that he would send the images, of course, to the university professor, but also most of, and for all, the affidavit with the information we had received about the strangulation technology from Dr. Stenninger. He promised me that he would do that and that he would be in touch very, very shortly as soon as he had receive the results or the opinion of his colleague. To see what I wanted to see, or we wanted to see at that point, was that if this technology in my throat obviously could have caused this displacement. I then, for a week, did not hear anything. I had also informed my GP about all this, because he has my global medical file and is aware of everything that is going on. Finally, it is not my ENT doctor who called me back this Friday, Good Friday actually. It was my GP who said that he had heard from my ENT doctor that he had told him that the university clinic St. Luc here in Brussels, one of the major university clinics, had, I don't think they even said, wrote a written report. They had told my ENT doctor that this is just an anatomical abnormality without any, it's not grave, it's not nothing to worry about, and basically they would close the file. There was nothing worrying about it. When I then asked my GP, and I of course intend to ask my ENT doctor the same question, is what exactly had been sent to this university professor, he replied to me that they only sent the images. So the explanation that Dr. Stenninger, who's an expert in these technologies, in this nanotechnology, gave in her affidavit were not included in this mail to the to the university professor. You see? So it seems like a cover-up, you know. It's pretty clear.
Right. So that either through mind control or through, oh, this is the type of case that we want to just pass through because it's one of those. Actually, the just because your doctor wanted to go through all the hoops, you got looped, and now you're not going to have the operation. Is that basically the bottom line?
Yes, indeed. Because the idea was that if this doctor at the university, this university professor, would have confirmed that he, if he had all the information in hand, he would have confirmed that it is likely that this change is caused by this strangulation technology in my throat, and then we would have had a sufficient reason and justification to remove it. This now is not the case.
Okay. Is there a medical committee in the university that you can appeal to? I know that in every surgery department in a teaching hospital or in a university, there's a medical committee that you can appeal to, which is composed of various professors. Do you plan to appeal to the medical committee?
Indeed, that went through my head when I heard this, especially when I heard that all the information that Dr. Stenninger gave had not been sent. I know for a fact, I did my own research, that in this same hospital there is a bioethics committee that you can apply to. I could certainly write to them, but the only problem is that, as far as I remember, when I inquired there, I think 2 years ago, they told me that I cannot write to them as an individual. It has to be done part of a group. Yeah, it's a bit surprising. So, I mean, for example, EUCACH as an organization,
sure,
could write to them.
You can send EUCACH. And then you can send the link to all of the testimonies at your October 20th, 2014 conference.
Yes, I think that's a good idea, and that's I think a way to go.
Yeah, and just to see if they want to avoid that step, in the law, this is called a motion for reconsideration, and you can always write to this professor and ask him to reconsider, to say, hey, look, you didn't have the other paper, the affidavit, would you reconsider? And perhaps he might reconsider, because all he's going to do is waste a lot of people's time. I mean, this is becoming an international incident at this case.
Yes, absolutely. And I might indeed do this, you know. Also, actually, the hospital that did the first investigation, the first exam, is, in my opinion, already faulty. If it's been neglect or fraudulent concealment, I do not know. But after the exam, in fact, I asked the radiologist, I said, well, how long is it going to take for my doctor to receive these results? And he said, well, 3 or 4 days. So, and he told me that that the results would be looked at by 2 different radiologists before sending them on to my doctor. So it is, for me, it is very hard to believe that 2 different radiologists wouldn't see that. When I asked to various radiologists that I know and that I trust, and it didn't take them more than 2 minutes to figure out that this bone was being replaced, had been displaced. You know?
Now you wanted to come on this program and launch a public appeal to any lawyer in Belgium with common sense and courageous enough to take both your and another case. Could you please go into that now at this stage?
Yes, indeed. So what has happened is, because I'm a victim of electronic terrorism, as some of our viewers might remember, is that my son's custody was removed on the grounds that in this custody case there was a psychological expert that was appointed by the court. And as soon as she heard that my former partner had said that I think that I might be a victim of these technologies, she ruled that I was delusional and I was crazy and a bad mother. And when she heard about this wire that I do have in my throat, then she said that this was just a sign of my further delusions. And next time when my son would have a cough, I would take a knife and open his throat. So, and that my son should be immediately removed from me. That I should see, if I ever wanted to get shared custody back, that I should see a psychiatrist on a regular basis. And also my son, who was 2 years old at that time, should go to a psychiatrist. So it is very interesting because I indeed hired a lawyer then, and I appealed this judgment to no avail. But in this process, I got to know a man who also lost his daughter. The case was with the same psychological expert. And where she immediately ruled that he didn't even come in. I mean, he had just come into her office, and she told him something like, "Well, I can already see what your ex-wife says. You're an unfit father." So yeah, so you know, she told him this right away, and indeed he lost his daughter, and he's not even allowed to see his daughter anymore at this point because of this psychological expert. And when we did some research, it seems that systematically, when this psychological expert was involved, the parent that she didn't like definitely always lost their children. So we had hired another lawyer who was very enthusiastic first, and I think we made it clear to her that the problem in this case is really this psychological expert, because she, in both of our cases, and you can almost superimpose her writings, it's all very much the same. It is because of her false psychiatric diagnosis that we lost our children. And she took the cases with very, very much enthusiasm, and she said, yeah, I understand that. And after a while, I got less and less responses from her. And after a while, she wrote to me, especially when I showed her the medical imagery and what this showed, is that she wrote back to me saying that she did not want to talk about this psychological expertise at all, or leave this psychiatric, false psychiatric delusional diagnosis out totally. And in fact, she didn't want to speak about any medical aspect of the case. And when I asked her, well, how do you think then you're going to win? You know, I mean, explain to me, you know, what's your strategy? How do you think you can win? And this other father who's in the same situation asked her the same question. And she answered then that she wanted only to negotiate with the other parent to change the custody agreement. Well, I cannot see if she leaves out totally this false psychiatric diagnosis, you know, how we would have a chance of winning. So I've decided to change lawyers once again. And indeed, right, as you said, Alfred, we're doing an appeal to any lawyer with common sense and who would be courageous enough to not run away from obvious evidence, you know, that we have, and a very, as I see it, very clear situation. Right. And so that would be our appeal. Yeah.
Good. Well, good. And I'm glad that you continue to look for that, and perhaps some of the civic and social associations there, like Debout les Belges, who's really looking out for the Belgian citizens, as far as I can see.
Yes, true.
Can help you in that regard.
And referring me to somebody. Mm-hmm.
Good. Mm-hmm. Now, you there have been very active keeping the European Coalition Against Covert Harassment busy on a number of fronts. Last year you had a landmark conference, and you're planning again one for this year. Could you tell us about this year's coming conference again?
Yes, indeed. So it's still a little bit early to give details, but what we have decided is that, I mean, we know that this is not a Belgian problem. We know that this is not a European problem. We know that this is a worldwide problem. For us here in Europe, I mean, I do not think that we have any country in the European Union where we wouldn't have members, where we wouldn't have victims. So we decided that after a very successful first Brussels conference, which is, to my knowledge, was the first in the world about these subjects, we would now go to, this year, we would go to Berlin. And we will have our second covert harassment conference on the 1st and 2nd of October. So we'll have 2 days this time in Berlin, where we have a lot of German victims. Actually, we have also there is also a German association that has been very active in the past. And so we are currently in the process of drafting the program, finding the right speakers, but we have decided the city and the date, which is 1st and 2nd of October in Berlin.
Right. Now, also, your director and founder, Magnus Olsson of Sweden, has been very active, I mean, in helping organize. And what has he been up to lately?
Well, yes, I cannot say so much about it, but from what I know is that Magnus is very active in, let's say, bringing together various whistleblowers on these subjects, NSA whistleblowers, CIA whistleblowers, and he is at the moment busy, and he will have his own show, you know, where most of the time there will be really insiders, whistleblowers, like we had at the conference, Mr. William Biddy, but there are others that also gave testimonies on the illegal surveillance activities of the NSA here in the European Parliament. You know, these hearings were public, and I attended a few of them. So we will bring various whistleblowers and insiders that used to work for secret services and governmental agents together on Magnus's show to give us a real insight on these illegal surveillance activities of our citizens, and hopefully also bring the subject of non-consensual implantation and torture by directed energy weapons to a much greater knowledge and give it much greater visibility.
Right, right. Now, also there in Brussels, coming up on the 25th of April of 2015, there is an exhibition that's coming up to draw public awareness on chemtrails, geoengineering, and HAARP, which are all directed at depopulation.
Yes,
and
correct.
Could you tell us more about that?
Yes, this is, I think, now the third year that we're organizing this exhibition. And what I see, what is very, well, nice to see that every time we started out very, very small. We only, at the beginning, we only had a few citizens there, a few people. And every time it seems to be more members of the public that are aware of this and concerned about it and want to know more. So it will be on the 25th of April, as you said, Alfred, very correctly, near the central station in Brussels, plus the Lambremont. We can put the information online. It starts at 2 p.m. And what it is actually an exhibition covering all these allied subject matters like HAARP, indeed, which is also very much used for mind control, chemtrails, geoengineering, and mind control. We'll also speak about the non-consensual implantation of our citizens with this kind of nanotechnology implants weapons and the torture. In fact, at the last exhibition, I was requested to speak, so to make a presentation there. And I'm doing this in collaboration with the organizer, whose name is Luc Vervliet. We can put his email online if anybody would like to know more about this event. But the idea is basically to really inform our citizens in depth what is going on and on these technologies that are deployed against them.
Right, right. Now, also, it's been a couple of years now since the EUCACH legislative proposal banning technologies, new physics technologies, enabling the manipulation of human beings that has been taken to the EU Parliament. Yes. And
correct.
You know, everybody's been kind of pussyfooting around with that. Where is that? Is that going anywhere?
Well, I hope so. I mean, I will certainly not, stop my efforts to push for that, and so that it gets the necessary attention. Indeed, I had a meeting. I think it was last September. With the staff of the former president of the Libe Committee, the Committee for Civil Liberties, Justice and Home Affairs, to present this legislation to them, and said, well, stress the urgency that the European Parliament asked the Commission to draft legislation to ban any technology that enables manipulation of human beings. Such as mind control technology, I mean remote influencing technologies. Also HAARP and chemtrails was included in that. So this has been given to them at the conference that we're now organizing in Berlin. We have the plan to invite certain members of this committee we certainly will not stop to request that this at least there is a request sent to the Commission to draft this kind of legislation.
Right, right. And of course, when we were doing as a collective the research to draft that legislation, it was based on Russian Federation legislation which banned new physics weapons. So that has been done in the Russian Federation.
Absolutely.
So the EU that is now not wanting to adopt these standards. Why do you think there's such resistance at the EU level to adopt legislation against the torture of citizens that you can amply demonstrate?
Well, unfortunately, most of our politicians do not work for the citizens anymore. They work for industries, there's who makes sure also, I mean, the people, sometimes they work for the European Parliament, and once they leave the position in the European Parliament, they go to work for the industries and then come back as lobbyists, where they really know their way around. We're up against that problem, but still, I mean, the politicians should realize that this is not only it is a problem that is global and that concerns everybody. I mean, also them. I mean, we know that it is very easy to actually mind control somebody. My personal opinion is, but this is that via the chemtrails and the nanobots and the chemtrails that we all breathe in. I mean, the members of the European Parliament are no exception. That most of humanity, unfortunately, is already implanted and connected to the grid, and that way they are influential, So even if they're not tortured like we are with these directed energy weapons, I believe that it is so difficult to get through because most of humanity, unfortunately, and definitely a large amount of politicians, I think, is already implanted without their knowledge, and so it's very difficult to break through this mind control barrier that unfortunately has already been installed, in most of them at least.
Right. Now, just jumping topics again, you've started a collaborative project on a book, including the subjects of non-consensual implantation, organized stalking of defenseless citizens, focusing on Morgellons disease, which we now know is a bioweapon.
Absolutely.
That's deployed against women, children, and men in the EU. I know it's deployed here in North America. Could you tell us about this, and perhaps your co-author? Of course, it's in French.
Yes, indeed. So this actually, it's in the furtherance of what we just mentioned, Alfred, because I myself, at one point, I was getting frustrated because I saw so little things moving in the European Parliament, and it was really not because lack of efforts on my side. So I thought, I said to myself, well, maybe I need to broaden the way I approach these things, and certainly I very much believe in education, and knowledge is power, and these educational projects to make people aware. So through a recent contact, I believe it was actually via one of the last global marches against chemtrails and HAARP, I got in touch with we have a common friend with a very excellent activist, French activist, and she's also an artist. She's a singer and writer since a long time. That she's quite well known in France. Her name is Claire Sévrac, and who has written various books. When we talked, I said, well, this is really a problem. I made her aware of well, she was already aware, but maybe she wasn't aware of the depths of the problem, or let's say the wide, that it was that widespread in the population, and so she had an open ear to this, and so we decided that we would collaborate on a book on these subjects, hoping to educate the public and make them aware. So at the moment it's a bit early to say too much. But I'm quite hopeful that this book will come out, It's first going to be in French, so but it's not excluded that it will be, and I hope it will be translated into other languages as well. And you know, like it is when you team up, you usually have also more power to make our politicians listen, especially as this lady is quite a well-known activist, especially in the health field.
Oh, good. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
So I hope that this will, you know, maybe even speed up our lobbying efforts. Yeah, in the European Parliament.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. So it looks like you've got some momentum going as you enter the spring of 2015.
Yes, hopefully so.
Yeah. Now, people who either want to support or follow or even donate, either support through becoming a volunteer or otherwise donate to EUCACH, how can they do that?
Well, EUCACH on our website, we have a donate button, so people can donate there. We have a PayPal account, so, and if people want to, you know, get in touch with me, because I mean, after the last conference, I got quite a lot of people contacting me, victims also that were living in Brussels, but not only, and who said, well, if only I had known that this conference, you know, was going on, I would certainly have come. And especially people have requested, you know, you work on at the European level. So I mean, I speak personally. I speak 5 languages, but I do not speak all the 20. I mean, we have 28 countries in the European Union. So
right.
There are various people that offered me their, you know, translation help, Polish, Romanian, whatever I needed. So if people would like to get involved, I think it would be a good idea to give my email address again, because last time after the conference I got quite some offers to help, you know, and even if it's just an in-kind contribution, it still is a very welcome contribution. So
yeah, good. So we'll have your
email
and all of the contact in the article that accompanies this interview.
That's very good. Thank you.
Yeah, good. So do you have any words that you'd like to leave our viewers with, our audience?
Well, what I would say, so maybe you could help us to support our efforts, EUCACH's efforts to get this legislation drafted, because we know that, you know, there's power in numbers. So
right.
yeah, it would be a good idea that you write. Don't be shy. You know, write to your MEP. Write to the Libby committee. There's now a new British president, Mr. Claude Moraes, I think. But anyway, you can write in any language of the European Union. But write to Mr. Moraes. Say that you know that there is a proposal. You know, by EUCACH to draft legislation, to ask the Commission to draft legislation to ban these technologies and weapons deployed against our citizens. Write to him and ask him what is the status, what is going on, and say that it's very important that the European Parliament and especially the Libby Committee ask for the drafting of this legislation and puts a little pressure on the European Commission.
Yeah, and so people, they should Google the European Parliament, go to their website, and then
yes, absolutely. Maybe Alfred, we could put the Libby Committee details
and the Libby Committee means the Human Rights Committee. That's basically what it means.
Yeah, human and civil rights in the European Union, and they have to observe that the European Convention on Human Rights is respected in the European Union. Yeah. So if you know, as many people as possible, well, Europeans, but I mean non-Europeans are also can also do that.
Now we should be really clear that this is the hoops that the Rothschilds have put out and the Matrix, because the European Parliament, if it passes legislation, it doesn't have any power,
No.
That's just a recommendation to the European commissioners who are appointed.
Yeah.
They're the ones that pass the laws. So the European Parliament just says, oh, the people elected all these parliamentary countries, and they say,
correct.
We just passed this. Will you please adopt this? So that's a pretty sad state of affairs, don't you think so?
Yeah, that's true. That's a very democratic system that we have here. But still.
And it's all put in by the bankers, the Rothschilds, and that the monarchies appoint, and they're all pedophiles. It's a pedophile and ritual child sacrifice networks that keeps them in power. And that's the basic truth of the matter.
Yes, it's very true. And Belgium seems to be one of the paradises for pedophiles. I just would like to mention that, indeed, you have mentioned the Debout les Belges movement. I was a candidate there for the European elections last year. And maybe just to close this, or to illustrate how far this goes, and this is all linked indeed, is that there was a former judge of the tribunal of first instance in Namur, who has willingly proposed to accommodate in his house the former wife of Marc Dutroux, who was, she's almost, almost as bad as was Marc Dutroux. I wonder if she's not even more criminal than him, if that's even possible. He has decided to accommodate her in her house, to give her a 3-bedroom apartment. So there are obviously, people in this country that judges or former judges, like in this case, willing to, to host former pedophiles or let's say really criminals. Because let's not forget that it was this woman, Michelle Martin, who was basically responsible for the death of the 2 little girls, Julie and Melissa. So this Easter Saturday was, actually the Debout les Belges movement with their members went in front of the house of this former judge, who's also a Freemason. He said it himself, and protested this this woman, this criminal woman, Michelle Martin, should be hosted there. And unfortunately, the demonstration, which was a peaceful protest, was violently put down by policemen. So just to say that as well.
Right. So here, the people don't want a pedophile and ritual child sacrificer moving into a neighborhood. So the Crown Prosecutor, who reports to the royal family and the powers that be in the pedophile networks, get the police to go in and ruthlessly put down the community because they're protesting a pedophile and ritual child sacrificer kingpin from moving into a neighborhood. That's Belgium for you.
Yeah, absolutely correct. This is what's happening now.
And that's a country run essentially by the Rothschild family. There you go.
There you go.
Okay, well, more power to you. Thank you very much for this update. We're doing great work.
Thank you.
I urge all of our listeners to go to EUCACH.org. Really, if you can, send all the support and energy of whatever sort that you can. Donations are welcome. Any kind of support to EUCACH and to its public relations director, Melanie Vritschan in Brussels, who's courageously holding down the fort and also exposing the medical networks, the pedophile networks, the NSA, mind control networks, Motorola. Oh, and tell us briefly about the gang stalker break-in that you had the other night.
Well, I've got regular break-ins into my house with ransacking of my property, so that's not new. But I visited for Easter an elderly victim who was all alone in his house, and I didn't think that was fair, so I went to Antwerp to visit him, and we decided to go out to a restaurant to have a nice Easter dinner. And when I came back, I was definitely followed. This time it was 4 black BMWs, who had displayed a very aggressive driving, like they were almost into my bumper. I was like, the headlights flashed at me, and the way they were driving on the highway was definitely to intimidate me and, if possible, to provoke an accident.
Right.
So that didn't happen. But I was followed, until being in my house. So the whole way from Antwerp, it's about 40 kilometers, where they were constantly following me and driving in such a fashion that, the idea was to intimidate me and maybe that I would lose control of my vehicle and probably crash. So that's not the first time that this has happened. I even had a man in black overtaking me on the highway and parking his car in front of my, in the curve in front of my car, and I managed twice to avoid him. So it's not the first time that has happened, but what that shows us that obviously my work, doesn't go unnoticed, and that everything is done to intimidate me or to silence me in that fashion. And I don't allow this to happen, but this is what happened 2 days ago.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Good. Well, we've come to the end of this segment. Do you have any final words that you'd like to leave with our audience, or perhaps something that you haven't mentioned that you would like to mention?
Well, I would like to make an appeal to, if you live in Belgium or in the surrounding countries like Holland or Germany or also France, do not hesitate to join us on the 25th of April at the Brussels Central Station, and we will also give, if it's possible, Luke's contact details or mine if you want to know more about the event.
Good.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, thank you very, very much for joining us. And we send you all of the healing energy as you are literally fighting for your life in full public view, while the system now, we've gotten up to the medical doctors, the university professor. Well, you're going to file your letter for reconsideration so that you take up the affidavit to him, and then you're going to go to the medical committee because you have a doctor that's ready, willing to operate. Good.
Yes, absolutely. They're running out of options and out of lies.
Yeah.
So the truth will prevail.
So thank you very, very much, Melanie, and Godspeed.
Thank you, Alfred. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.